ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, college sports fans, college administrator fans,
whoever.
Definitely college football fans across the nation and around the world. This is Tim May with a special edition of the Tim May Show, because sitting to my left, you're right, Gene Smith. A couple days, Gene, before you walk out the door finally as the athletic director at Ohio State, and I'm just thinking, you've got to have a million thoughts going through your head, and then one thought going, baby, let that car start, right?
No, you know, there's more emotions than it is thoughts. And I'm really excited about the next chapter, whatever that is. But these last days are more emotional. I'm seeing people and you know, hugging people and saying goodbye to people, and that's because that's the piece that I've always gravitated towards, is the people. So it's kind of difficult from that perspective. And now the other piece is, you know, most people don't know this. You know, I've walked around the facilities when there's nobody there. You know, like this one, I did that, you know, 2 nights ago. I was walking around here by myself and just reminiscing the planning around this facility, the Shoemaker Complex, and then I did it with some other facilities because they mean something to me. So, yeah. Anyway, but yeah, it's more emotions than it is, you know, a lot of thoughts.
That's what I don't want to get into that, but I wanted to ask you this. The preference I had was to meet you at some place that's kind of special to you from a physical standpoint, you know, physical complex standpoint. The Shoemaker Complex,
yes,
yeah, is a building that wasn't here. There was kind of a building here, but it was a football building way back when it was built during the Woody Hayes times.
Right.
The big facility, and it's interesting because it just shows how far athletics have come in not just your lifetime, but in your realm, basically in your stay at Ohio State and in your stay as an athletic director across. I mean, do you ever sit back and are you stunned that things have come together like this?
Yeah, I am. I get shocked every time I come in this building or any of the others. And when we had the vision for the athletic district that is, you know, close to fruition, but, you know, geographically is set, we wanted to make sure that we created a facility like this that served our Olympic sports student athletes. It's attached to our football building, so basically you got 330,000 square feet. And so this building being 128,000 square feet, you know, serves our Olympic sports student athletes. They have their own weight room, the training room is huge, and meeting rooms, a fuel station where they can eat, things of that nature, study area that we're sitting in. It worked exceptionally well. The Bigs was 40,000 square feet for our Olympic sport athletes. Didn't have a weight room, didn't have a big training room. So
it did have a place where you could dress and undress, but
that was about it. That was about it.
Yeah.
You weren't quite sure which locker room you were in.
Exactly.
So, but this was the main facility that had to be built first before the other facilities were built. The Valley, the tennis facility, the lacrosse, and what the things that Ross will ultimately build to the north. So this means a lot to me.
Yeah, the Ty Tucker Tennis Center back over this way. Like you said, the Cavelli Center and the Jennings Wrestling.
Yeah, that's right.
I mean, it is in the softball stadium just over behind us over here, and then the baseball stadium, the Jesse Owens track, which was here I think before you got here, but it's been enhanced big time. That's what I want to get to. I mean, we'll just jump right into this part before we move into the, you know, the huggy-muggy part. We're not going to hug, don't get me wrong.
Oh, come on.
But are you concerned now at this juncture? This is an inflection point for major college athletics from the standpoint of funding, financial things that are coming with the revenue sharing that's coming.
Right.
Are you concerned about some of these sports now being degraded? Maybe not the right, but maybe that is the right term in terms of scholarships. Go ahead.
The thing for all of us that we'll have to get used to is we have 36 sports. And we've always funded them to compete for championships in their conference or national.
Yeah.
And so we were always at the top of the pyramid with many of them. And I don't think that's going to remain the same. You know, you want to keep your 36 sports, but I think we have to be realistic that there'll be X number of sports that will be highly competitive, that we'll invest in, that we'll revenue share with, and there'll be those that we don't.
Yeah.
And then there's other schools that will make different decisions. And so I think for our culture, we're going to have to get used to here's the sports that are at the top of the pyramid, and unfortunately, here's some sports that we're going to sponsor, still have quality experience for the student athletes, but you just won't be able to fund them at a level where they can win consistently as champions, and that's going to be a challenge for us.
Does that hurt you a little bit?
It does.
I mean, because before you answer, because what I've really liked about your regime, and people who know me know the respect I hold for you. We've had a few moments, right? We've had a few moments,
just a couple.
Yeah, but the respect I have for where you've come from, where you've gotten to, what you've done once you've got here, I think is literally off the chart. And I would think all these things you've built. I mean, like you said, you got into this from a personal relationships kind of situation. Exactly. It's kind of like the opposite way some people get into things like this, right? People are almost like a line item veto item.
Yeah, right.
Whereas with you, if you do this, it's hurting.
That's right.
It's hurting individuals in some form or fashion. And I don't know. In some respect, are you kind of glad you're moving on at this moment? In that respect,
what's so funny? Not in that respect. It kind of gets my juices flowing. That's one of the things that I think about was I would love to be here to help frame what it's going to look like. That's the stuff that I love to do. That's like, you're building the house. That's like getting your hands dirty and bringing a cement block over from the pallets over to the house and forming them. So it's that part, I'm going to miss having a brainstorming session with my teammates in the room around this topic. Ross is having those right now. Yeah. He's doing a great job, and will do a great job. That's part I'm going to miss, the interaction, the brainstorming, throwing stuff up against the wall, and the managing it as you go through it.
Yeah.
Just that part and leading the people around it to go through it. It's going to be fine. People ask me, well, the football is going to be different. It's going to change. No, the game is going to stay the same. They're still going to block and tackle and run and score, and none of that's going to change.
Yeah.
Everything around is going to change, no question about it. But I don't know. I'm going to miss not, building it and shaping it. So
yeah,
I'll still be engaged on the peripheral, but I won't be like in the room.
Yeah, exactly. You think you're retiring, but I can see you being called in a lot of places for. Special counseling, or whatever you want to call it, right?
That's going to happen.
You probably already have a schedule for that. I'm probably jumping the gun, but why wouldn't they use your expertise in all kinds of ways, including running an athletic department that had 36 sports instead of like 18 or 20, like at, no offense, Ross York, but like at Texas A&M, 21 sports.
It's different.
I mean, yeah, but then again, that may be what he ends up with here from a top tier aspect of things, right? Maybe smaller than that from the standpoint of what's fully funded, what's not. I think it's going to be a moment of really redefining fully funded.
That's true. That's right.
I
mean, the athletic department here will always stay self-supporting. There's no question about it. So it's just as he would share, it's just reframing it, and so it's going to be fine. I mean, the student athletes will still have a quality experience at whatever level, but at the end of the day, you got to win at football. So you got to make sure that your investment in football stays consistent, and you build it, and you're constantly, because you're constantly going to have to rebuild it.
Yeah.
And you stay on top of that. And Ross will stay on top of that.
Hey, you had an interesting comment when you had the big interview with Doug Maurice. What's it called? Vikings of the North, or whatever. Kings of the North.
Kings of the North.
I guess you take out the VI.
Yeah.
But the point was, you've gone all in. You've gone all in on football this year. Explain to people, because you kind of really didn't explain what that meant, but I'm looking at two coordinators making right at or over $2 million a year.
Right.
Others, this is a millionaire almost kind of staff, when you look at it.
It is.
Explain what you meant by that comment, though, as in you've invested, for want of another term, invested in the personnel from a coaching standpoint, from a support standpoint, definitely, and then the players with the NIL realm out there and stuff.
So we first of all, after the bowl game, we had a great conversation with Ryan Day and talked about him actually being a part of the NIL fundraising strategy, and him making calls and explaining its importance. And
Yeah.
I had a really firm conversation with him. You got to make these calls because people want to talk to you. And so the people that we had already talked to that maybe had some objections, he could overcome those objections because, as one donor said, I constantly hear you might be leaving, you might be going pro.
Yeah.
All the media rights.
Or to Florida, whatever.
Yeah,
That's the latest.
The Patriots job came open, everybody's like, Ryan Day's on their list. Wait,
Yeah.
he wasn't on the list. But that's out there. So a donor in Seattle, Washington, has a concern because that's all they read.
Yeah.
And so only he can answer that question. I can say it, but he has to answer that. And so, him going all in, making those phone calls, he had like an 85-90% success rate in those calls. That's one. And then the other one was investing in the staff. He and I talked about what he wanted to have for his staff and where he needed to make some improvements, and we invested in that and went forward and weren't going to lose anybody. We had some people who were offering other opportunities. We didn't lose them because we paid more. And then the facility. Normally we would have, the Woody Hayes is an older facility. It looks good when you walk in there, but the mechanicals and everything, and we've got guys stuck in closets, and you see it when you walk out to the
like an older hotel.
It is.
Yeah.
But normally we might spend $800 to $1 million a year on it to keep that lipstick on it, but this year we spent somewhere north of 3.5.
Wow.
And so the aggregate of the investment was to make sure it was up to par. We replaced 2 artificial fields outdoor by the Woody Hayes for football. So we made a lot of investments, and I didn't want any stone uncovered relative to what they needed to be successful, particularly with this team that we thought it would have.
Yeah.
And it's exceptionally talented, but I also think they have the chemistry and the camaraderie to ultimately chase the Holy Grail. So that's what I meant by going all in and supporting Ryan, and I think everyone notices that he's kind of a different leader now.
Yeah. Number one, he's got his old boss, his offensive coordinator, as offensive coordinator, Chip Kelly.
Right.
Did you push that at all from the standpoint of maybe, Ryan, you need to step back from doing a couple things and become the consummate head coach? I mean, was that in the conversation?
We've talked about that over the years. That ultimately at some point in time would happen for him. And people forget, every year we all saw him grow as a leader. And I think he's at the pinnacle right now. He's just phenomenal. And so, now he's at a leadership position. But to be a leader, you have to have a comfort level in every operation of your organization to be successful.
Yeah.
And it was hard for him sometimes to leave the offensive staff home during the week because he was the guy.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so on a Wednesday morning, it'd be hard for him to walk out to go see a donor or to give a speech or something of that nature. But now he can do that because he's got somebody like Chip in the room where he has 100% confidence and comfort in.
Yeah.
And so, not that he didn't have it before, but not to this level.
No.
Not to this level. And so I think he's, to that point. And how he'll do game day, that'll still be an interesting thing to watch.
Yeah.
Because his strength is calling plays. And it's hard for leaders to evolve and kind of let go of the strength of yours.
Yeah.
I went through that myself. There's certain things I like to do myself.
Yeah.
But I had to let it go. And so I think he's to that point.
Yeah, said online, like Patton could have never been Eisenhower.
That's sad.
Eisenhower could have been Patton.
There's no question.
Exactly.
Well said.
Yeah. And this is what's interesting to me, though. It's almost like, and I'm not putting words in your mouth here.
That's right.
It's almost like 2024 is almost because you played major college football, ladies and gentlemen, at Notre Dame.
Right.
You broke my heart a couple of times. I was a big Alabama fan. You know what I'm talking about.
A couple times.
You and I've talked about
you don't
that many times.
Reminisce about those.
No, I don't, as a matter of fact. But I digress. Bottom line is, it's almost like a no excuses year, you know. And you and I both know, in major college football, major college sports, major college football especially, you never know what wreck's coming around the corner. You know, who's going the wrong way on a one-way street. And yet, I would think, like you talked about, you tried to set it up with Ross Bjork that, okay, no stone left unturned here. The football program's got what it needs. A new facility is going to be coming in one day, sooner rather than later.
We did all the planning for that.
Right, and it's so I'm thinking in that regard, you're walking out feeling good about what is the most important program in the sports, in the athletic department, which is football, because it generates everything.
That's it.
90% of everything else, right?
That's it, Tim. I mean, I had one. My mentors always told me to leave a place better than you found it. That's one. Leave when you're healthy and try and leave on your own terms. But I knew that when I left, that I needed to make sure football was in a good place. And I've had a number of conversations with different leaderships of the institution about that, about football, what we have to do for football, and everybody knows that. I mean, it's like you and all the other people in the media. You want to cover a winner. I mean, you want to cover a team that's maybe in the national championship. That's what you want to do. And so at the end of the day, I knew that I had to make sure that what I left was in good position that way. And Ross he's going to add on to that because he's a football guy, and he's going to add on to it as we move forward and help make sure in the new model that football is positioned the right way.
I was going to say, do you ever look back though, back when you started at Eastern Michigan, moved on to Iowa State, moved on to Arizona State, moved to Ohio State, just during your lifetime as an athletic director, how much the pressure has gone up for some of the guys who were much less for you, but for the guys you hire and fire, so to speak. I mean, Ryan Day, a major college head coach now, like you just pointed out, there are so many irons in that campfire now, and
it's changed.
So where does that realm come now as you step away? Where does that realm come on whether or not you determine? And it would be a floating thing. It would be a subjective thing, not objective. Ryan Day hasn't lost double-figure. It hasn't even had double-figure losses yet. Yet people talk about the pressure on him now and stuff. And I'm not trying to get you to declare all in, but the guy's done a tremendous. I mean, they're number one recruiting, etc. Do you have to win a national championship to totally verify everything? I mean, you understand what I'm saying?
No, I think that our standard has been winning Big Ten championships periodically over the years. We were doing that. And we got to get back to that. Now,
King of your own hill.
That's exactly right. Once you win Big Ten championships in football, in this league, you got a chance for the Holy Grail. So to me, it's always about we need to try and win Big Ten championships. We need to get back to that standard. Now, it's really interesting now because of the way the playoff system is set up. Technically, you could not win the Big Ten championship and win the Natty. I mean, you could have done that before, but this one's even more realistic.
For sure,
But so but still, student athletes want an opportunity to be a champion in their sport. And I used to like the divisions. I know most people didn't because I liked it for a number of different reasons, but one of them was you could be an East Division champion. And
win something.
You own that. You own that. And then you can be a Big Ten champion. You own that. Then you can be a national champion. And so, I like that. As an independent, if you don't win, only thing you got is the Natty.
That's right.
And so for us, I think we just bottom line to your question, we need to get back to winning Big Ten championships. We need to get back to being in Indianapolis.
Tell me, why would anybody in the western side of the Big Ten the last many years have voted for just the top two playing for the championship instead of a West and East.
Yeah, I mean,
I see, because it takes away.
That's true. That's
You
true.
understand what I'm saying?
But, so the West and the East is totally redefined now. You know, because USC and UCLA
Right.
and Washington and Oregon are in the West.
Right.
So I think, you know, the reality is you look at the playoff system and you can see a path where if you're third in the Big Ten, you still might have a shot.
Yeah.
Frankly, depending upon your schedule, if you're fourth, you might. And what happens everywhere else, you
Right.
might have a shot.
Right.
So I think, you know, ADs and coaches sitting in those seats at other schools probably looked at it from that perspective. And so, and then the divisions, you know, while they, in my view, made sense at the time because we learned from them, I'm not so sure they would make sense moving forward, considering we got 18 teams.
Yeah. By the way, I've made this bold prediction many times over the last couple of years that the Big Ten will end up with 20 teams, and the other two teams will be Notre Dame and North Carolina. Notre Dame because, and really for the same reason, because I see the ACC, and you don't have to opine on this, but I see the ACC in a magic moment, one way or the other. Sometimes a magic trick goes poof, right? And then Notre Dame without an ACC really to lean on.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you be in your own backyard instead of like, you know, trips to the, I call it the PAC now, the Pacific Athletic Conference, you know, right? But, you know, we'll see where it goes.
We'll see how it goes.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes. You don't want to opine on that, I'm
No,
sure.
I
But
don't.
but I do think Notre Dame belongs in the Big Ten. I'll
I
leave
do
it at
too.
that.
I believe in that.
And I think North Carolina makes a lot of sense in some other respects. But with that said, let's, real quickly, I'll wrap it up here with you in a couple of, you know me, I've always got one more. But what is the sport here that in your mind was sort of flailing, struggling, trying to find its own way when you showed up in 2005? I was chasing you all over Lincoln County. You probably weren't there at the Longabergers and stuff. That was an interesting day.
Yeah, it was.
Gene Smith's in town, you know. First you got to explain, who's Gene Smith? No, I'm just messing with you.
That was funny. Women's ice hockey.
Women's ice hockey.
Women's ice hockey.
And you could have gone either way on women's ice hockey.
Exactly
You
right.
understand what I'm saying?
No, exactly
Yeah.
right. No, you know, we hired the two people and they didn't do what we wanted to be done, and then you know, we found Nadine and she chose to come on board, and she's been phenomenal.
Yeah.
And so when you think about, to your question, you know, a sport that was at the bottom, you know, in every facet.
It seemed to have no
Culturally,
direction. Yeah.
You had loss, you know, issues with the student athletes, all those type of things. Nadine's done a marvelous job. I mean, you're talking 2 national championships and one being in a national championship game. And
Yeah.
so, no, it's that sport is clearly the one.
Yeah.
There's others that, you know, done well, that, you know, weren't doing as well, but that one is the one.
I'll tell you what stands out to me too, not just as a sport, but just even football. It's got an international roster. You know, when you think about it, you know, punter from Australia again. You know, but I mean, right on down. But they're from every corner of this country.
That's exactly right.
The players are.
Right.
I mean, it's kind of crazy when you think about it. And you got a coaching staff sort of assembled in the same realm.
Yeah, no, it's no question.
But you know, like I remember when I covered a few national championships by the crew, the women's rowing team and stuff, and they were from all over. You know, because that's where the strengths were.
Right.
Do you worry about Ohio State maybe losing that attraction for those kind of sports if in fact some of the sports are lessened?
It depends, right?
Yeah,
on the resources, but I think.
But you got to be proud of that, right?
Oh yeah, no, you know, I'm exceptionally proud of that, and you know, it depends on how Ross and the executive team does it. You know, even though you might not be investing what we historically have invested,
Yeah.
the investment still might allow you to attract that.
Make the most of it.
That's right.
Yeah.
And so, you know, it's you know, here you still get an Ohio State degree. You know, people don't pay attention to that like our Olympic sports student athletes do.
Yeah.
And you know, it's the culture and the resources here beyond just, you know, all the stuff that might ultimately not be there, but it's just a great place.
Yeah.
So the facilities aren't going away. You know, this facility is not going away.
Yeah.
So you're going to get the best athletic trainers. You're going to get the best strength coaches. You're going to have the best facilities from that point of view. Rowing is going to have one of the best rowing facilities in the country.
Yeah.
So there will be an impact, but I still think you can recruit some of the top talent.
Well, y'all aren't about to dig a big ditch.
No,
I'm just joking.
No, that's true. That's true.
I'm messing with you. Hey, last couple things.
Yeah.
I've always been intrigued by this because you faced some challenges here. You know, like I said, I don't want to cover everything that was covered with Doug and stuff. What was the biggest though challenge you faced where you kind of looked in the mirror? You had to look in the mirror a few times. I mean, because and I'm not going.
Well,
this is
the biggest one was Tattoo Gate because of the kids.
Yeah.
You know, and Boone Aaron, and Bill Posey, and Mike Adams, and all those guys. Terrell and Solomon, all those kids. You know, if you care about kids like I do, you know, it was painful what they were going through and then the outcome.
Yeah.
Which I disagreed with, and still disagree with to this day. But you know, sitting there and you know talking to those kids, it was hard. It was painful, and it caused me to reflect. I want to keep doing this.
Yeah.
You know, this is how our organization is going to treat young people. Do I want to keep doing this?
Yeah.
And so I decided that I was going to keep doing it and keep fighting for change. I think that's why they asked me to chair the NIL committee, because they knew what I thought. You know, fighting for people don't know the phone calls that I made to get parents a stipend for the first CFP playoff.
I was going to get to that.
I mean, they don't know
Yeah.
what I did to get that as a pilot program that ultimately became permanent.
We'll let them know now, man.
And that's the stuff. I mean, that's the phone calls. I mean, that's the stuff that when I became even more inspired that I needed to change where our organization and change what we were all about, and try our best to get more resources to the student athletes in whatever way I could. So, you know, I used a lot of chips during that time frame.
But we saw, I mean, from the outside looking in, I know you poo-poo this, we saw a more aggressive, you know, because you told me one time you like to be, when you're in a club, you want to be a good standing member of that club. Maybe the leader of the club,
right,
but still a good standing member of that club. But sometimes the club isn't going where the club should go from a direction standpoint and stuff. And I thought it was really fun because I asked Kirby Smart, I asked the coaches with the announcement of the expanded college football playoff back before Georgia and Ohio State played, in that little joint press conference there the day before, you know, should the players share in some of the revenue that's coming? Obviously, it's coming now. You know? I'm not giving myself credit, but Kirby Smart, it was typical SEC. I call it SEC NASCAR kind of approach. NASCAR, they take a lot of credit for things that were developed elsewhere, but they use them now and they invented them.
Sure.
But he was taking almost like credit for getting players and families stipends. So I almost screamed out after I asked the question. No, Ohio State and Gene Smith and Urban Meyer did that.
Exactly right.
And the the players or the Elliots and stuff. You know, but
a lot of phone calls on that one.
Yeah, but the thing I wanted to ask you is, it kind of dovetails into what I wanted to ask you here. Are you leaving here proud of that aspect of things, that in fact you were a player, you know the sacrifices you went through as a player at Notre Dame, from a full scholarship, full ride, now 3 hots and a cot was a pretty good deal back then. But you weren't making anywhere near the money.
No.
Are you, I don't know, proud's not the right term, and most proud definitely not, but because I was talking about.
I feel better
Yeah.
that we have a system that recognizes that student athletes should receive some level of compensation.
Yeah.
You know, for us as a generation to think that student athletes go out to a stadium, you know, up north, 110,000, ours 105,000 in the States. To think that the players don't think about all the money that's being made, or to see coaches pay what they're paid off of their backs, it's naive. It's not consistent with reality. So I'm for revenue share. I'm concerned about how it's going to end up. I just don't know, but I'm for it.
Yeah.
And for that reason, we should be doing it. I believed in NIL, but not the way it was approved.
Yeah.
You know, we recommended some other things, and they stripped all those things away, and I wish they hadn't. Now they're trying to put the genie back in the bottle.
Yeah.
And so I've always been, it took us, 7 years to get cost of attendance added to the scholarship model.
Yeah.
So, you know, I'm a big believer in that, and I feel much better that student athletes now will have some revenue part of it. And I look at it from the point of view it's education. I was telling recruits last weekend, we had 13 and 14, and the parents in the room, look, you know, a lot of you aren't going pro. Only 1% go pro. So this is your opportunity to earn money, save money, and learn how to manage money. Learn about stocks and real estate, those type of things. Our fiscal literacy program is going to teach you those things. So don't think at the end of your career you're going to be making millions.
Yeah.
Some of you aren't.
Yeah. But golly, what an advantage it is now for them to leave with something in their pocket.
Boom.
Because, I mean, you know,
No debt.
you were a young man. I was a young man. You know, I didn't have that extra.
Oh, no.
You know what I mean?
No,
if an air conditioner needed replacing, I'd go buy a window unit.
Yeah, no, exactly right. Or a fan.
Yeah, or a fan.
So but I just think I know it's hard for people to
Yeah.
accept. I understand that. You know, I'm a traditionalist in so many ways as well. But this is a reality. Embrace change or become irrelevant.
Yeah.
And I tell my teammates all the time, look, this is the way it's going to be, so how do we be the best at it? How do we get phone calls from people asking us, well, how do you do so well at that?
Yeah.
And so that's, I just think it's a new day.
All right, I asked you a while ago, I'll end on this. I asked you a while ago a sport that came on, and boy, you're proud of that because it was lacking direction. Give me, I'm going to ask you one person, but you may name 50.
Yeah.
And I'm talking about a player, a student athlete, an assistant coach, an administrator, somebody, you know, a trainer. What is a person you can't get out of your brain right now that you helped along the way? And you know, all you can do is pay forward, you know. Mm-hmm. And then where do you go from there? But that you helped along the way that, boy, just has blossomed maybe beyond what you thought that person would do.
Yeah, I mean,
I know there's 100. There really are.
So on the administrative side, I mean, there's a bunch. But I will single out Diana Sable. You know, who you know.
Yeah.
I mean, she started in sports information before it was communications, and she evolved over time and became a leader. She's actually was the one that ultimately identified Nadine, and we ultimately hired her in our women's ice hockey program. And watching her grow, and then watching her go to the Big Ten Conference office and be a part of that experience. And now she's an athletic director at Utah State, and just announced a fundraising campaign that they've never had for intercollegiate athletics, and already got one major gift. I'm just, you know, just so proud of what she accomplished. There's some others. And on the athlete side, I can't even begin. There's so many.
Yeah.
There's so many. You know, I can't. I mean, it's just, you know this. So one of the things I'm most proud of is when I came in 05 with 324 scholar athletes, those that maintained a 3.0 GPA. And this past year we celebrated 811.
Wow. Yeah.
And our football team, one academic metrics is mentioned in the same vein as Harvard.
Yeah.
And the second thing is,
Wait a minute. You mean Ohio State's the Ivy League school of the Midwest? No, I'm messing with you.
How about that?
You know what I'm saying?
But the other piece is, you know this. Back in the day, you might wake up and read the Columbus Dispatch, and it was even playing their return on sports news. There'd be 4 or 5 guys who just got in trouble about something or whatever, accused of something.
Yeah.
And that was like constant.
Yes.
Now.
I know.
So we recruit character, we recruit young people to compete in the classroom, and I'm just so proud of all those student athletes who, we just had the vets camp in basketball, and I'm walking in there, and I'm like, all these guys who played for us, and dads and they got their degrees, and
Yeah,
so it was cool. I got a lot. Anyway,
yeah. I know I said last name, but you know me.
I know you always got one more.
Could have fired, for example, you could have, quote, fired may not be the right, yeah, fired Chris Holtman a year ago. You fired him this past year. This is what people don't understand about college athletics, and I've always understood it because I get to know a lot of these guys, you know, and it ain't easy to, especially when a guy looks like he's going in the right direction. You've invested a lot of time, faith, money, energy into a person like that.
Right, a good person.
And then when it kind of blows up in your face, which it blows up publicly,
Right.
it's just like there were a lot of people calling for him getting out of here a year ago.
Right.
And Chris is a great, I mean, my interactions with Chris Holman were like limited, but were always really top notch.
Right.
But that doesn't matter. I mean, you know, it's still, you've got to get the job done, right? And
that's true.
and then to pull the trigger, and then to name Jake Diebler, for example. I mean, you never know who's sitting there. I guess my thing is, you don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater, you know what I mean, type thing. And here's Jake Diebler clearly had plans, but when you're the assistant, and to me, you and Ross both looking into that, the depth you did, to stick with you. I mean, Jake Diebler has impressed me every moment he's been the head coach.
What was nice having Ross there is he did a lot of the legwork. He talked to a whole bunch of coaches across the country and came down to a small group and asked me to be a part of that interview process. And every time we compared somebody else to Jake, Jake always came out on top.
Yeah.
And Jake kind of had what Ryan Day had. People forgot that Urban Meyer was suspended, and Ryan Day took over, not just for those 3 games, but in August.
Yes.
When, you know, the ship could have been like totally destroyed in August,
Yeah.
because that's the time. And he managed that exceptionally well, besides those 3 wins. Jake took over a group of young men after their leader had been let go, and it could have gone south.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Would be Purdue at home, would be Michigan State at their place. I mean, it was, and the place was exciting. Our attendance went up. And so when you begin to peel back the layers, it was...
My point was,
easy.
you had the comment that you were looking for a spark. You were looking for, I mean, they deserve, in
That's
your
right.
opinion, the student athletes deserve
Student athletes, forget
that.
about everybody else.
And it worked out. That's got to make you feel damn good.
Oh, it did. You know, you have to, it's principled leadership. And so I could have listened to all the noise.
Yeah.
And tried to win the press conference and hire whoever.
Yeah.
It wasn't about that. And so what these kids needed at that moment in time was a spark to get their energy and their emotion going. And I mean, in the first game with Jake as the coach, you saw it. You felt it.
Yeah.
And that's what I was looking for. And I didn't, all the noise and the arrows and the bullets thrown.
Yeah. Well, I told you.
That's what I do.
And I've been on record, what happened with you and Urban in that August of 2018, I really thought it was overkill to the extent, you can not comment, I don't care. Thought it was overkill. Yeah, some things need to be re-looked at, etc.
Right.
But the idea that this was thrown under the rug and not looked at, the situation y'all dealt with, which I won't even name anymore, because there was never anybody even arrested for it. The bottom line is, I thought that was overkill by some people wanting to make a statement, and y'all were the scapegoats for the statement. If some things need to change, yeah. But you know, I've never heard of a dean or anybody else that happening to them. And I thought it was a very...
I learned how to tailgate in my condo.
Yeah, yeah, there you go. There you go. But I wanted to let you know that there were some people out there who still thought, what's going on here? You know what I mean? And Gene, like I said, thank you for doing this interview with me, my man. And I've always enjoyed every interaction with you, even when it was tough. And good luck, happy trails, and
thank you, man. Appreciate you.
You know, keep Sheila in check, man. She's going to be wanting to go here, there.
I can't keep her in check. Are you kidding me?
Okay. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, until next time.
Go Bucks.
For Gene Smith, this is Tim May. That's the Tim May Show. We'll see you then.